Hi friends, today we're going to spend a little bit of time learning and talking about our morning message and our calendar. So when we're in our classroom, we do our calendar every single morning to start our day. It's part of our leader job. And for the parents that are watching this, most of this we do teach early in the school year throughout the month of September. And then beginning in October, much of this process that I'm going to show you is done through the help of my leader of the day. So the leader of the day does many of the jobs that I'm the one doing. Typically the leader is the one who would do the calendar and much of the morning message. So this is an independent activity, and this is something that if you have the time and you choose to do it at home, it can be a really powerful learning tool. So today's video is going to be to demonstrate what a morning message and calendar time might look like. And you can see all the useful learning that can happen through this short activity. I will post another video later, and that video will be a separate video that will be information and learning about weather through two different stories. One is going to be an emergent reader, a little book that your child can read and use their superpowers to gain meaning from that. And then I'll also do a read aloud, which will be a nonfiction. It's a nonfiction story about weather, and you'll see that that is another book that will help children learn about the different kinds of weather. So that'll be our thematic learning later today. So when we introduce our day, we always we start with the calendar. So the first thing I want to show you, now I don't have my classroom calendar obviously here, so I actually made the calendar on the back of the song that I had. So you could do this on a piece of paper. You could use your own home calendar. Mine was kind of small, so it wouldn't really work for the purposes of the video, so I just drew a calendar on the back of a piece of paper that I had at home. So the first thing we do is I always ask the leader to tell me what is the name of our month. So the leader will point to the month, and they know the month is always the word at the top of the calendar. Then I usually will have my leader tell me, tell me the letters in the month, and they would say A, P, R, I, L, touching each letter as they say it. Then as a class, we would say it all together. Again, A, P, R, I, L. Sometimes we'd even say it a third time, and we'd practice writing those letters, maybe using our hand to write it, A, P, R, I, L, or maybe doing what we call sky writing, A, P, R, I, L. So those are just a couple of different quick things that you can do just with the word, just with one word of the month, some different learning activities. Another thing that we do, we talk about the sounds in a word. So the syllables, how many syllables are in the word April? And we have a couple of different ways that we practice syllables, not to be confused with tapping the individual sounds of a word, but how many sounds does the word make when we take it apart? So we would say April. How many sounds did you feel in that word? And they would show their fingers, 2 sounds. Then we might tap it on our shoulders. April. I hear 2 syllables in that word. You might even say April. So any way that you can have your child practice counting the syllables of a word, that's an important strategy and skill that they will need as they move in through their progression of becoming a reader. So after we talk about the syllables in the word April, we do sing that April song. And again, that is a song that we sing every single day using the words from the song as well as the sign language that I taught your child. Eventually we take the words away from the song and they sing it without any lyrics in the song. It's just the music. So after we sing the song, then we start talking about the actual calendar. And this is where you can integrate lots of different math and reading strategies, and I'll teach some of those to you now. So I'll ask my leader to tell me, point to the date that we're stopping on today. So on our calendar, all of those numbers are flipped over backwards, so they just see white. We don't have the whole calendar showing for the whole school year or for the whole month. So they would point to this box. And then I ask them, would you like us to count with you or would you like to count alone? And they can make their choice. So then I have them count, and I make sure that they're touching each number as they count with their pointer finger or a pointer. Now this is important, just like readers do. We want to touch each word so that students are visualizing one word at a time. So we would count, and sometimes students in the class would count along, or they might clap, or they might tap, or they might snap their fingers to make sure that they're focused on the job too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. What comes next? 14. So after the student tells me the number that comes next in the calendar, then I give them a chance to flip it over. Since we can't do that, then I would give your child a chance to write the number. How do you make the number 14? And they would tell me before they write it. So we know teens all start with a 1. So if it's a teen number, the first part will be a 1, 14. It's a 1 and 4 squished together to make the number 14. So then we review the date. Today is April 14th, 2020. Now you'll notice when we got to the end of each line or each row, you have to return sweep and come down and read across left to right. That's another reading strategy that's really important. So using the calendar can also teach many different reading strategies. Sometimes I'll use this time to help students, to give my leader of the day a chance to show me the number, their quick number recall. I might say, point to the number 3, point to the number 8, point to the number 5, point to the number 12. If they point to the wrong number, we'll talk about what 12 looks like. So I do that very, very quickly. It's just a quick review for number recall. After they can tell us the date, then we talk about the day of the week. What's the day of the week today? So they know, they put their finger on the number that we just flipped over, or in this case wrote, and they know to go straight up until they see a word. So words are made with letters. When they see the word, they stop, and I say, what is the day of the week? And they can read it, Tuesday. I might say, how do you know that word is Tuesday? They might say, because I see the T, and the T, ooh, Tuesday. I might also say, well, what day always comes after Monday? It must be Tuesday. So there are several days of the week songs that are in our YouTube playlist under our morning songs. So you can have your child choose one of those and sing one of those songs to practice their days of the week. We also do that. We do finger exercises, so they show 7 fingers, and then with each day of the week as they sing, they bend those exercise those finger muscles to make their working fingers even stronger. After we talk about the day of the week, then we will usually talk about the weather. So we sing a song to our leader asking them, what's the weather? What's the weather? What's the weather like today? Tell us, leader, what's the weather? What's the weather like today? They go and find the weather word after looking out of the window, and they find the weather word that we have in our classroom that matches the weather today. Since I obviously don't have those weather words here at home, you can write those words on a piece of paper and they can choose the one. They can point to the one that they see for today. So if I was to look out, I would say today is partly sunny or partly cloudy. I see a little bit of clouds and a little bit of sun mixed together. So after we do our calendar, you'll notice that, let's see, that was about an 7.5 or 8 minute activity. It doesn't take long, but there's a lot of learning that can happen there. Then I would move into our morning message. So you see, today's morning message is quite long. It's a lot longer than what I showed you yesterday, but this is what a typical morning message would look like. So I have a greeting, I have some words that are missing, and then in this case today, my question of the day is a math question. So it's something that we will think about and do together. So first, we always read the message together, and you'll notice there are missing things. When you see those missing things, we stop and say, so that they're still thinking without saying out loud what they think would make sense in the message. So again, my leader would point to each word. Good morning, friends. Today, Tuesday, April, 2020. The weather is, Now, usually I like to fill in the missing blanks before I go down and ask them my question of the day. So then I would go back and I would start at the beginning. Good morning, friends, and ask, what's wrong with that message? What do we need to do to fix it and make it sound better? Good morning. So I usually will have one of the students tell me, how can I fix this word and make it be the word morning? Looking for them to notice that it's missing one of the sounds. I'll ask, is it missing beginning sound, middle sound, or end sound? And in this case, they would tell me it's missing the beginning sound. What letter makes the sound and they would come up and write the M for morning. Good morning, friends. We repeat and read that, and now it sounds good. Today, Tuesday, April, 2020. I would ask them what's missing, and they would reply, there's a word missing. The word is. How do you make the word is? And they look at our snap word list, they look at the word wall, and they think about the word is. While one student is writing it up on the board in our message, usually I have all the other students writing it on their hand, writing it in the air, writing it on their leg or on the carpet in front of them with their finger. Today is Tuesday, April 2020. So they can go back and look at the calendar to find what that number was, or many of them will often just remember today was April 14th. So I would have my leader write the number 14. And remember, how did you make that number? It was a 1 and a 4 squished together. The weather is, So they could go to that list of weather words that you have. And today I would say that the weather is partly cloudy. Then we would go back and read that message all together. Good morning, friends. Today is Tuesday, April 14th, 2020. The weather is partly cloudy. Does that sound better? And we would all agree, thumbs up. Then I would read my question of the day. And as I said, in this case, the question of the day is a math problem. Sometimes we do counting together. Sometimes I ask them about how they're feeling or what they did over the weekend. So your question of the day can be any kind of response that you're looking for them to think about. In this case, I'll read to you. If 2 flowers are growing in front of my house and 4 are growing in the back, how many flowers do I have in all? So whenever we see this mark, we always notice it and circle it because that means we're wondering something. It's a question mark. So in this case, I have 2 flowers growing in the front of my house and 4 flowers growing in the back. So boys and girls, are we going to take away or add together? And they would respond that that is adding together because I want to know how many flowers I have in all. Then I could make this into 2 different types of math problems that they might be, that they've been exposed to. And I could fill in the boxes. 2 plus 4 equals, And again, we could use fingers as our tool. 2 plus 4 equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 plus 4 equals 6. Another thing that I could do is have some counting cubes. Those cubes that I sent home for your math games, you can have 2 cubes and 4 cubes, and they would put them together and count them and find that they now have 6 cubes. And another way to do this would be to use a number bond. Now we just started doing number bonds in March, right before we stopped being together at school. So this is a new concept to them. Prior to calling them number bonds, we were calling these part, part, whole. Part, part, whole. So that's what we called it before we started calling it number bonds. And again, that was just introduced right before we left. So when I use a number bond, It's just like saying part, part, whole. Here's a part and here's a part. When we put those parts together, we have our whole. So I would put one part in the top circle, one part in the bottom circle, part, part, whole. 2 plus 4 equals 6. And again, I could have this visual up on the board or on the floor. I could have 2 plates, 2 circles. I could have a lot of different ways to show a number bond. Inside of one plate, I could have 2 cubes. Inside of another plate, I could have 4 more cubes. And then I could have a third plate with lines connecting them, and that would be the whole. We would take 2 from one and put them in the first plate, and 4 from another and put them in the next plate. And when we put all of those cubes together, we would have 6 cubes all together in our whole. So number bonds, again, are a new concept, but it is something that we have seen. We just did not have a lot of time to really talk about those in our classroom when we were all together. So boys and girls and parents, this is just a little introduction to how you can use a calendar and a morning message to do a lot of learning. And that, if the video right now is just about 16 minutes. So if I took off my little introduction words, it's about 15 minutes that you could spend with your child learning a variety of different kindergarten concepts and standards just through doing a calendar and a morning message. Thanks for watching. I will see you again soon.